Hello and welcome. My name is Lisette Cruz and I will be discussing individualism and community as reflected in Dead Man's Path by Chinua Achebe. First, I'd like to give you some background information on the author and talk a little bit about the story. Then I will discuss the conflict between individual aspirations and communal rights as reflected in the story. Chinua Achebe is one of Africa's best-known fiction writers. He was a member of the Igbo tribe in Ojiri, where his father taught at the local school. Achebe's novels focus on the traditions of Igbo society, and much like the story I am about to discuss, his novels often show how old ways can clash with more modern Western ideas. Dead Man's Path is a short story about a young and ambitious headmaster named Obi. He has just been hired by the Nedum Central School for his sound secondary education and modern ideas. His wife hoped to turn the school around by implementing his modern methods, which include a high standard of teaching and beautifying the school grounds. Obi and his wife begin to make their changes and encounter a path that goes through the school, which connects the village shrine to their place of burial. As an attempt to please the government education officer who will be inspecting his work, and to rid the school of ridiculous beliefs, he orders the path to be closed off. He places sticks and barbed wire to form a fence blocking the path. When the village discovers the path is closed off, they send their priest to call on the headmaster and have him reopen the path. The priest of Annie explains how important the path is to his village. He tells Obi how their dead relatives depart by this path and their ancestors visit them by it. But most important, says the priest, it is the path of children coming to be born. Obi listens to the priest and then tells him that the purpose of his school is to teach children to laugh at such ideas, and states that dead men do not require footpaths. The priest gives the headmaster his reason and states that if the path is open, they will have nothing to fight about. Obi declines his request and decides that the path shall remain closed. He suggests for the village to construct an alternate path and offers help from his students. The priest says nothing further and walks away. A few days later, a woman dies in childbirth, and the village diviner said they should offer sacrifices to the ancestors who were upset by the path being closed off. Obi awoke the next morning to his work in ruins. The villagers had destroyed everything Obi had done. The white inspector came by that day and wrote a nasty report on the condition of the school and, quote, tribal war situation developing between the school and the village, arising in part from the misguided zeal of the new headmaster, end quote. Now, what does this story tell us about culture, respect, and community? Do you empathize with Obi, who is striving for a more modern way of life? Or do you side with the villagers who follow the beliefs of their ancestors? In the story, the priest uses the quote, "Let the hawk perch and let the eagle perch," to teach Obi about tolerance and coexistence. He says this to explain to Obi that he should respect the village's beliefs, even if he doesn't agree with them. An individual does not have the right to deny anyone of their culture, heritage, or religious beliefs. A community should not have to accept modern beliefs because one person says so. A wise man would figure out a way to accommodate both views, even though they are different and come from different classes of people. The story teaches us that we should always keep in mind the beliefs and tradition of those who came before us. Trying to force modernization over traditional beliefs can raise conflict and result in consequences. While progress and modernization can absolutely be a great thing, we shouldn't devalue old and traditional beliefs either. The lack of tolerance on Obi's side is an example of how various religious groups fight with each other to prove who is right without taking another opinion into consideration and without making compromises. If Obi and the priest of Annie would have just made a compromise, both parties would have been able to coexist peacefully. Since there was no compromise or tolerance, both sides resulted to negative actions and lost. That being said, I hope that you have learned a little bit about Chinua Achebe, Dead Man's Path, and some of the themes in the story. In conclusion, I leave you with a quote from Achebe himself. "A man who makes trouble for others is also making trouble for himself." Thank you.